The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Tokutalk. Today's topic, if you haven't read the title, Power Ranger lore.
Yes. And just to talk about a little bit our general feelings about it and the way that it's been approached. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the comics in that case, but also how it's been
what you're going to do
approached
is you're going to rant for 15 minutes about the morphing grid. I already know you.
Well, it does suck, but just where it is instead of where it started.
Alright.
So, Andrew, how do you feel about the lore?
Overall lore of the entire series, because there's not a lot.
Just in show, yeah.
There's not a lot that spans overall except for tradition and the morphing grid.
Yeah.
Which I like to a certain extent, but there are times where they take it too far. And I think we've said this in previous videos. Making it a sentient, energy source that can make decisions, not so great.
Instead of how they presented it in, the Operation Overdrive crossover, where it was just an energy source
To tap into.
Yeah, that was basically it. I understand, but I feel like if they should have did something where they ended up in Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, there should have been more extrapolation done on how this is what we thought it was to what it actually is. I will honestly say, I'm not a fan of the morphing grid. I don't like where it is. I don't like how it's presented. The lore up to a certain point, we had the lore of the first 6 seasons, where we went all the way up to Lost Galaxy, where it was just, that whole Zordon era thing, which I thought was presented very well because it was one continuous story.
You mean In Space, not Lost Galaxy?
No, Lost Galaxy too, because that was still a sequel.
I guess.
Yeah, so I like where that ended up. However, when you have something like the morphing grid, and I guess the Morphin Masters, which were mentioned very early on, season 1 or 2, and then you don't bring them up again until Dino Fury. Your history is too long, with nothing in between, so it feels like you're pulling this out your ass, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of when they do things like that.
No, that is stupid. Jacob, you got anything to say? Any particular aspects of the
when
lore?
it comes to lore and Power Rangers, it's not something I generally think about. Because generally it tends to be very surface level.
Yeah.
And, extremely surface level. So, I will instead extrapolate a little on what I would like to see them do more in the future. Which is maybe go a little deeper. Maybe delve into the past of where this particular set of powers came from and what it means historically and also personally to these characters to be a part of this team. Whether that's through an item, whether that's through their morphers themselves, whether that's through their mentor, companions, what have you. I would like to see them use the lore as a way to further signify what it means to be a ranger.
Dino Thunder kind of did that when you think about it.
Yeah, they did.
Also,
Because mostly through Tommy.
Mostly through Tommy. And Tommy was the one who discovered it, and Tommy is the one teaching them what it means to be a ranger, and then they had the entire episode where they found out that he was a ranger. And just
along with seeing other teams that came prior.
Including bringing up the fact, I do love the whole plug where the actor who played the Red Ranger was in Ninja Storm as a student. He's like, my twin brother. It's my twin brother. That went to the super secret ninja school that I know about somehow.
Not you. You don't know about it. So stupid.
Just remember, we're only a few years away from when SPD takes place.
Yeah, still no Alien. Still disappointed.
Yeah. I like to point that out. We're a few years away from when SPD takes place.
4 years.
How old does that make you feel?
Sad. That's how it makes me feel.
I don't care.
When you're in the year of a show that goes in the distant future.
I know. You're gonna see it damn it.
It's like when the fucking
Transformers. The year is 2005.
Yeah, that was a harsh reality.
Or what about fucking Back to the Future?
School.
It's 2015. We have flying cars and hologram movies.
Blade Runner, I'm pretty sure was also 2015.
Huh?
To be fair, the whole hologram thing. Tupac is putting on a concert next week.
I said hologram movies.
I know. Still,
Jaws 7. Hoverboards.
They never stopped.
But when it ends up coming to something like this,
I would still love some self-lacing shoes.
Didn't they do something with that?
Yeah, they made the pair. They made the pair from Back to the Future.
Okay, yeah.
Also, self-drying clothes would be great.
Hoverboards.
Well, those are a thing.
No, they're not.
Just not in the way.
They don't hover.
They don't hover.
I think they actually do have legitimate hoverboards, though.
No, they don't.
They do.
They have hover
Or
suits.
jetpacks.
They had like hover suits where you put fucking turbo, like plane engines on your wrists.
Or jetpacks or replicants or...
But back to the lore thing. This is sort of why I'm a much bigger fan of Sentai than anything Power Rangers has done.
Because it always references, it tries to reference.
No, it doesn't.
Mm.
So,
Well, no, it does and it doesn't because it always references.
it depends
past.
on the season.
No, I'm saying it always references in the past because it's typically a team up. So there's always that.
Well, you got to remember there's that whole thing where there's the regular universe that the show is in, and sort of Zenkai just sort of did that. And then there's the Versus universe that Gokaiger exists in, which all the other teams also exist in. That's pretty much the thing now.
And now.
And then there's the sacred timeline, and then there's all the variants.
What the fuck up? But yeah, there's
Sadly,
like,
because Power Rangers
and
is
then there's
starting to do that.
616.
yeah, it's like they end up having that whole thing, and it's so much easier.
And then there's the world where Batman fights Jack the Ripper.
I'm sort of not the biggest fan of lore when it ends up doing something like this, especially in Power Rangers, because it was just too much of a gap. But with Sentai, it's just like, it's its own story, so it doesn't have to follow anything else. Except maybe curry. A curry restaurant shows up somewhere.
That's just Japan.
Yeah.
That is also Japan, but it's also because of Yellow and Go Ranger. It's just like, that's really the only... Yeah, that's really like the only thing they end up really making sure exists. I like it because the story is a lot more self-contained. The comics are doing this better. And I feel like they just have a lot more to work with because they can just really expand the universe to make it much more cohesive. Which is something that...
I mean, they don't have limitations that the shows do.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just like... Because it's so contained in its like own thing where the comics universe is just like, it's so expanded. And they're doing so much to expand who the Phantom Ranger is and all that. And then we end up having the show where the Disney era is just a giant gap. Most of the Neo Saban era is a giant gap. And the next thing you know, here we are with Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, and they're just Hasbro's doing all this stuff with lore, and I'm sitting here like, you sort of didn't need that.
But at the same time, it's not necessarily... No, I haven't watched Dino Fury, so correct me if I'm wrong. It's not necessarily an overarching lore because now Power Rangers is implementing all these seasons that take place in other universes. Like
No, they say...
Dino Charge and RPM.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, those are their own universes, but they're saying, like, the Morphin Masters were behind everything this entire time. With all the other Power Rangers, where they got their powers from and all that. And I'm sitting here like, I feel like you're removing agency, and I don't like that.
You're trying to overcomplicate things.
Yeah. Like, I'm a very big fan of giving everybody their own agency, and I feel like when you do something like this, especially so far in the future when all these other seasons have already taken place, it feels like you're retroactively removing agency from all these other teams and making it seem like much more Destiny-ish. And I know how you feel about the prophecy.
It depends on the story.
The prophecy!
It can be done well, it can be done well.
It was foretold.
It was foretold.
I hate that.
As you know.
I hate that. As you know. I hate that. I hate it so much.
God damn it.
And I think this is really why, outside of the comics, I'm really falling off of Power Rangers, because it started to piss me off more and more when they do stuff like this.
Right.
I'm just like, no, leave it separate. Let everybody do their own thing. Stop touching it.
But at the same time, you also got to realize we're putting more thought into this than most people would.
Well, that's why we have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
This kind of stuff.
I'm just saying. Most people who watch Power Rangers actively nowadays don't go, the fuck? This has never been mentioned before. No, it's 8-year-olds. No, I'm not saying that I think Power Rangers is just for kids. I'm just saying that viewpoint has to be put into the conversation. Is it the responsibility of a writer who is writing a show like Power Rangers to try to make sure their continuity is intact over the last 20-something seasons?
It depends on if that's what they're trying. If that's the story you're trying to tell, then yes.
And this pretty much is exactly what they're
to piggyback off what you were saying earlier on how Sentai tends to exist within its own universe, and then Gokaiger exists within its own thing. Thinking about what you said, I do agree with you. The way it feels like how they're trying to make seasons connect, but in a way that it doesn't feel organic. Is the problem, I think. Because where you're trying to retroactively connect something that had no bearing on what happened in the future, but then we're going to try and make it connect regardless because we're trying to maybe cater to some nostalgia there, maybe get some fans of the past season involved, but it doesn't really gel.
But at the same time, as you said, the Morphin Masters were mentioned back in the original.
In the original, jeez.
For like a sentence.
But that is...
And that's...
Until now, that was unexplored lore.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what the writer's trying to do. They're trying to take this thing that Zordon mentioned that never went anywhere, and he's trying to make it go somewhere.
I'm kind of with him on this one, because when it's something like that only gets one sentence, I think it's okay if like years down the road, where, let's be honest, a lot of Dino Fury's target audience doesn't know what the heck he's talking about because they never watched Mighty Morphin. I think something like that, it's okay if you want to
let it go.
If you want to go ahead and delve into it a little bit.
I don't agree.
Fair enough.
You waited too long. that's the main thing.
No, I'm not saying they didn't.
You waited way too long.
Oh well.
And that's where a lot of my issues are coming in. You waited too long to do this, and now you have to try and fix everything so it makes sense, but you end up making more of a mess. Like you said, it's not organic.
No, I'm not saying you did it well. Never at one point that I'm saying you did it
No, you didn't do it well. But
I understand why he's trying, is all I was trying to say.
You didn't.
I think it's a good idea to explore that, but you gotta do it better.
When you got a job
also,
to do, you gotta
wait
do it
for
well.
an anniversary season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To bring that kind of lore back from season 1, wait for an anniversary season where it's okay to bring that kind of shit up. Or more acceptable.
Or do something like what Decade did, what I guess you were sort of trying to do there, where it's just alternates. Although they sucked, at least they worked in the terms of Decade.
Yeah.
With Zio, it's just like, oh, we're going to have a fun time talking about this when we get to this review next week as we're recording this.
God.
where it's just like
want to.
I'm gonna be
everything.
sick that day.
Nope. Everything is just going to be.
I have a family reunion.
Nope.
No, seriously, I do. It's not during this time, but I'm going to go to it very early.
Where it's just like the whole thing is just.
Sorry, I can't come in to record. I've got scurvy.
You've got scurvy.
I got COVID. You're vaccinated. I can still get COVID.
It's true.
But still get vaccinated.
That way you don't have to go to the hospital. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just like,
I don't think Power Rangers is a show that needs overarching lore through all 25 fucking years.
No, I don't either. I really don't. I think you should. I think
it's nice. I think it's nice, but it's not needed.
I
don't think any show that reboots every year like this, with different characters, a different story and everything, and doesn't need an overarching lore. Shows like Doctor Who need an overarching lore. Because it's the same character. Yes, it's
a bit weird timey-wimey mess there.
But that's because it's time travel related.
Time and space travel.
But, sorry, I just thought of Time Gun.
But yeah, it's one of those things where just like, I really don't feel like you needed this. Because now you're making a mess. Like, you're making a stew, and next thing you know, you took the whole thing of pepper in it and ruined it.
On what kind of pepper?
Black pepper.
Oh. So I want to make sure you weren't talking about peppers.
Oh, no. I can ruin it too if you have to be.
Yeah. And depending on what kind.
Yeah.
Well, just say.
I was making a mild, white chili with chicken.
Then I added green peppers, red
peppers,
peppers,
dumped a bunch of
yellow
Carolina
peppers,
Reapers in there by mistake.
But yeah, how do you guys feel about the lore? How do you feel about how the comics is doing it? I feel like I said, the comics, because it's contained within itself, and I feel like comics
it's contained within one season.
No, it's spanning all the seasons, but it's just like the story's told better because it's just made for her. Comics really have a better chance of doing that as long as they don't go on too long. Looking at you, DC, Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Marvel did the same thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, just don't call
They
it.
they never did it to that extent. But yeah,
They're all equally guilty.
Looking at you, Superboy Prime. I'm gonna punch the universe
twice.
But as always, follow us on all the things.
Yep. Like Infinite Crisis.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching.